what's going on out there, YouTube family? This is Samuel Leggett representing Team JVS. I'm here for a review for a film that a lot of you guys are on your top most anticipated films to close out of 2019. And I'm talking about the film The Lighthouse. Now, this was directed by Robert Eggers. He directed notable films like The Witch, which had from my understanding, a standout performance. And after seeing this movie, I have to see that movie immediately because this is the synopsis of the film. A hypnotic and hallucinatory tale of two lighthouse keepers on a remote and mysterious New England island in the 1890s. So let's just go and break this down. I want to just go and gush about what my immediate expression is, but I think that this devotion to this one, I need to give an efficient review. Just kind of let it all marinate because this was a whole lot, to be quite honest with you. The iconography, the visual aesthetics, and just the way that this movie was shot was amazing. The iconography specifically, because the film is not done in a wide screen perception. It's actually almost in like a box. Like if you take me right here, it'd be just like this. And on top of that, like every single shot could be like a black and white Polaroid. Like there's this one shot where it's just kind of like them looking on the scape of when as soon as they get on the island and kind of looking off into this, like that could be its own shot. And there's so many different moments like that. The cinematography in this one, amazing. There's so many shots that I was like, how did they get this shot? There's one specific scene where Robert Pattinson is kind of outside, kind of cleaning the lighthouse on the outside of it, and like Willem Dafoe is at the very top, and he's kind of like looking up at him, but the camera is still focused on the back of his head, and then it goes to the front of it, and then it just goes to a standout shot, and then goes. I was like, yo, what are they doing? And then the imagery is just so unnerving. There's so many different elemental, I don't even want to say sci-fi, like more so mysticism, like as kind of feelings when it comes to the dreams and the outside looks of the visual aesthetics of the actual island, the water in and of itself, and the immersion, just kind of how it looks in a black and white kind of feel. Like I don't know how, some of the shots I really don't know how they got without really good lighting. I think the lighting is one of the most efficient things about this one, because there was never a scene that I couldn't see what was actually happening. Even when there are scenes where it was kind of like, yo, I don't know what he just did. Now, the other thing about the iconography and the cinematography, there are some very vulgar and suggestive and sensual scenes, specifically with Robert Pattinson. And I don't recommend this to kids in any way, shape, or form. I don't even remember if this movie is rated R, but I would assume that it is, because there are some very gory, there are some very violent, and there are some very, fever dreamish kind of feeling moments that happen throughout the entirety of the film. From the moment they get on the island until the very ending closing frame, like throughout. And so it's a very slow build. Now, what about the acting? It's really just Willem Dafoe and Robert Pattinson the whole entire movie. There might be one other character, and I don't even want to go into that. This is a non-spoiler review. But they were amazing. Amazing. Willem Dafoe has this like Irish accent that's so distinguished, and he has these like nuanced like monologues that just come out of everywhere. But then there was, the whole entire time I was sitting there questioning, do I even like this guy? Like, is he a good person? Robert Pattinson said at one moment in the film, this is not really a spoiler, the only time you're actually bearable is when you're just going somewhere and chilling and drinking. That's the only time you're bearable. And that's honestly true, because he comes off as such a dictator. He comes off as this egotistical maniac sometimes. And on top of that, I don't know if I can really trust what he's actually saying, because a lot of times it seems like there's mind games that are going on. And then he's continuously doing something to the side that I'm like, what is he doing? Then you have Robert Pattinson, which by far is probably one of his best performances of his life. Fam, when they said that they were going to talk about like nominating him for best like lead actor, I could see it. honestly, technically both of them could easily are probably going to end up being nominated, because Robert Pattinson in the beginning of the movie, he's kind of like really melancholy and just really just kind of like passive, kind of doing what he's supposed to do. But then throughout, you start to get the different pieces of him kind of like getting pulled back, all these different layers. And like, he goes from being like this normal kind of like guy that's trying to get work done to this guy that's really just kind of being dictated by this other man, and then just kind of like almost like dealing with like torturous kind of situations that are happening to him. And it's like, it's unrelenting. It keeps happening. And it's almost like he keeps breaking. Much to the Joker, when you have Arthur Fleck, this stuff that's just happening to him without him being in any kind of control over it. I would say the same exact thing is kind of happening to Robert Pattinson, but very different. Very completely different movies. So don't get that twisted. The things that are happening with Robert Pattinson is very different, because he starts to do certain things that take me out of like my perception of him as an actor, because he has this normal regular English accent that is like his normal accent just disappears. And at a certain point, alcohol is something that is a specific key point in this film. And the whole essence of alcohol is to try to numb these guys' like suffering being on this island together. And what it ends up doing, it prevents them from doing things, and it also pushes them to do unspeakable things. And like the descent that Robert Pattinson goes through in this one is unparalleled. By the end of the movie, you're like, this is not the same person. This is not the same as that person. And so when you think about the story is really just a normal, natural story where you got one guy that's technically a captain, or the lighthouse captain, trying to take care of the lighthouse, and then you have this guy that's really just trying to make ends meet, and he decides to go and try to help, lead the charge of taking care of this lighthouse. And then all these different things just start to cycle through, and it's like the build up to how the movie actually ends. And in the third and second act specifically, some of the imagery is just disturbingly haunting, on top of like disgusting. Like, for real, like there's moments that I was like, yo, what in the world? But then on top of this being really disturbing, very dark, and very malicious at certain points, there's this comedy element that's just there. Like, I was kind of just like, I can't help but laugh at this. But at the same as that time, it's not right. Like, the things that are happening to these men, or what they're doing to each other, it's not really right. And you got this feeling in your gut that it's not going to get any really better. And I think that and as a movie experience, is quintessentially one of the greatest feats that you can actually do, is make me feel uncomfortable, at the same time simultaneously make me feel entertained, at the same time making me laugh, at the same time making me feel like, oh, whoa, I need a break from this film. And that is what The Lighthouse does in spades. And I can't recommend this to everybody. It's not an everybody movie, but just like the Joker, I would say this is a 10 out of 10 film, which is interesting to have back-to-back 10 out of 10 films. Everything about the imagery, everything about, even the score was actually really great. The score was the other thing about the score, it works symbiotically to the musical sound edits, because there's a noise that happens that sweeps through the entirety of the beginning of the film, and it's not just us as the audience hearing the noise. It actually starts to distract and hinder the actual actors, and it plays this interesting role throughout the longevity of the film, and that starts to build into the soundtrack. And I was like, yo, how do you do this from just a sound? And it's so on key, it's so perfect. But again, it's not for everybody. The ending is very shocking and haunting. And it makes you question certain things. I really want to go into a spoiler review. I might have to go into a spoiler review, because there's certain things that happen in the third and second act that I was kind of like, Even in the first moment that Robert Pattinson goes to the water on the island, there's something there also that I really want to go into. But I'm not going to go any further than that. Hopefully you guys did enjoy this review for The Lighthouse. Go check it out if you dare. I think it's rated R. Don't take your kids. And make sure you make sure you share this, make sure you subscribe. Keep it locked. JVS, we ain't gonna stop. Thank you for watching, guys. Peace.